You know, I've always been a firm believer that regardless of what possessions you have, regardless of how much money you have, or regardless of what you've accumulated, period, your identity is truly the most beautiful of those things. You are you. And at the end of the day, that's all we can really ask you to be. We can all try to force fit you into the mold that we feel you belong to. But you have free will. And if you struggle with this concept, I want you to know that you are not alone. I often say misunderstood should have been my middle name. I constantly consider myself a man, but perhaps your definition of such would stand to argue a disagreement. I don't like to get dirty. I don't like to fight. Though I'm big, I'm honestly afraid of physical altercations. I may seem rugged, but the truth is, everyone that truly knows me knows I'm pretty fragile. I'm honestly the hardest person to figure out. My odd nature began to surface around the age of 7, when my world as I knew it would drastically change almost overnight. While staying with my grandparents, we were raided by the task force. As a child, it was nothing less than traumatic, and it truly left me with a rather socially awkward demeanor. And the events that followed certainly would not help the situation. As long as I could remember up to that point, I lived with my family in Jacksonville, Texas, in which our home consisted of me, my older brothers, Cody and Chris, my younger sister, Chelsea, my mom, and my, at the time, stepfather, Cliff. Honestly, though, I've always been a strange kid, don't get me wrong. I told super unnecessary lies, had generally odd habits, like round-the-clock nose-picking. I can honestly say I had a genuine love for school, and really not a single complaint about my home life. That is, until the day my mom and Cliff held a family meeting and told us that they're getting a divorce. Shortly after, we moved into a humble house in the small town of Pointer, Texas, with my mom's new boyfriend, Rufus. Being that his house was only one bedroom, he constructed a massive second-story renovation to his home to accommodate all of us. Now, Rufus was a hard person to understand, and I do give him credit for attempting to connect with us, but his methods were odd, to say the least. Nonetheless, my siblings managed to bond with him, but as for me, I believe I was simply too hard of a task to attempt to find a common ground. I believe he viewed me as an obstacle standing in the way between him and my mother. He did strange things, such as convince me the house is haunted, and knew that this fear had a grip on me, and utilized it, and quite frankly exploited it every chance he could. Do I think he had malicious intent at first with all this? No, I don't. But it didn't take a genius to figure out that I'm perhaps not a great option for those kinds of antics and behaviors. His house was next to a church, and I'm thankful it was, because there was a regulation-sized basketball court behind the church, which was essentially my backyard. I used the court as a means of escaping him. We moved into his house during the summer, so needless to say, I had plenty enough time to become well acquainted with that basketball.